Reintroducing a sleeping language entails carving out niches within a dominant English-speaking society. All Kaurna people have been speaking English, and only English, for generations, so reintroducing the Kaurna language means changing entrenched behaviours. There are many challenges in reintroducing the Kaurna language. The Kaurna community is small, marginalised and disenfranchised. There's no land, no property that Kaurna people own as a group, though they have lodged a native title claim. There's no discrete Kaurna community or suburb. People are dispersed throughout a large metropolitan city of over 1 million people. There are many fractures within the community due to different histories, ideologies and personalities. We began with awareness-raising workshops and a songwriters workshop in 1990. This was followed by workshops which ran over 1 or 2 weeks with community members, childcare workers and teachers. I would have thought that a 1 or 2 week workshop would simply not be sufficient to sustain interest in the language. I didn't have high hopes for a language so far gone as Kaurna was. But interest grew. Paul Kelly wrote a wonderful song, "From little things, big things grow," and that's exactly what happened. From the outset, the strength of the Kaurna language movement has been the passion that a few individuals have had for their language and their strongly held belief in the possibility in regaining their language, in the face of a dominant ideology at the time that language revival was an impossible dream. Dr. Elijah Waller-Origney introduced the Kaurna language into Kaurna Plains School in 1992 when she was the principal there.
When we first started it at Kaurna, I did a lot of talking in the community, in the school, with the families, with the kids, with the parents. So it's a lot of talking, a lot of discussing about why it's important. How come would you like to be involved? Why would you like to be involved? What would you like to see in it? So it was a lot of talking, a lot of discussions, and that's how you do it. You're not going to do it without the dialogue that goes on with it, and you still have to, because people are still suspicious, and but it can be done. But you have to reassure people.
This was a bold step because none of us knew much Kaurna at that time, and many were advising that a strong language such as Pitjantjatjara, spoken in the remote northwest of South Australia, should be taught instead. Ngarpata Elijah herself was learning a few words the night before and teaching them the next day. We know that for most people, teaching the structure of a language, grammar lessons, is not very engaging. All Kaurna people speak English and have been speaking only English for generations. We figured that the best way to introduce Kaurna was in the form of high-frequency, well-formed chunks of language. We discouraged the incorporation of single Kaurna words within English, as people might be inclined to do. Rather, we promote the use of grammatical sentences dropped into conversation which might otherwise be in English. In other words, we are encouraging and exploiting code switching. Of course, we start with the shortest utterances. Many well-formed utterances do in fact consist of just one word. Questions like wha, where, or ngaincha, what, ngana, who was there, etc. Ngandu, who did something to someone or something. And answers ni, yes, yaku, no, wenchi, maybe, are a really good place to start. Commands are also good, like bidna, wait, hang on, or badni, go, and of course words like ngaichalya, thanks. Then we can introduce two-word utterances, things like nganawangi, who said, or ngani yungando, give it to me, or bakadlapaniapendo, pass me the salt. These kinds of utterances you can use every day. Just learn them as formulas and don't worry too much about the structure to begin with. When I started to learn German, I learnt the leave-taking, auf Wiedersehen, without understanding its structure. This word in fact has 3 parts, but we learn it as a whole. We do the same thing with Kaurna. And some longer utterances such as ngai gudnawaliana padnandi, I'm going to the toilet, are always useful. In fact, often people begin to use the Kaurna language by giving a speech of welcome to Kaurna country, At first they often read it, but soon learn it off by heart as a long formula, without understanding how it is put together. And after a while of using these formulas, they begin to notice patterns and structures in the language, and as adults often begin to ask questions. Now they are ready for some explanations of grammar. One young Kaurna man managed to learn to speak Kaurna largely by himself in the space of a few years. He is now by far the most fluent Kaurna speakers. Let's hear how he did it.
I guess to develop fluency, it's a matter of repetition, practice. I tell people, a lot of my students, is you say words over and over until you get sick of them. Don't try and learn too much in a day or in one sitting. It's really understand one word, and not just how the word's pronounced. Understand how it's constructed. Understand if you play with it and add different suffixes and endings to it, how it can change. So when I talk about learning one word, it's really the options on where you can go with that one word, not just pronunciation-wise. And by doing that, you're sort of training yourself to say, well, this is what's possible with language. Any new word that comes in, you can do the same, the exact same structure, what you've just done, and you can, from one word, you can really learn 15.
Recording sound files of Kaurna place names, teaching Kaurna, speaking Kaurna to his dogs, thinking himself what he would say in various situations, speaking Kaurna to his children, talking to his mates. There are now 3 young Kaurna men who can reportedly conduct a conversation in Kaurna without resorting to English. But in a widely dispersed community, creating a community of speakers is not easy. It's not often that these 3 young men have the opportunity of meeting up. Fortunately, modern technologies, SMS and email, put speakers of Kaurna in touch with each other. Jack Buckskin is also attempting to raise his children as Kaurna speakers. He's been speaking Kaurna to his eldest daughter even before she was born. Whilst her English is dominant, she understands Kaurna well and does use some of the language actively and spontaneously. It'll be really interesting to see what happens when her younger brother starts talking.